Good evening, YouTube. It is the last day of the reorganisation, or is it? Hi, Simon. I'm almost done on the reorganisation, but I don't think it's going to get finished tonight. That's so good. No, if it didn't, long screw bit. Hi, Duncan. I decided I'd go live rather than trying to record something, which I then have to edit. Or I could just spend the time there you go. There's a screw gone down there somewhere. Oh, there he is. Hi, Nige. Hi, Wayne. No, nothing is ever really finished. I know that, when I kind of declare the reorganisation finished, as I live with it, there'll be things that I'll want to change. And I kind of know that, particularly with like putting the tools out. I spent most of the day putting up tools, and I'm not overly happy. Hi, Sparky. I'm not overly happy where everything is. It's okay, and it's much, much better than it was prior to starting all this. But I know there are tools I need to get rid of. I've still got a drawer behind me, stuff full of tools, some of which I probably will never use. If you've not got one of those, it's worth getting hold of. A Y-bit, great for driving hooks. Oh, that's annoying. The day started a bit. Who else have we got? Hi, Mark. How you doing? The iceberg that's around your way looks awesome. Oh, I was wondering whether it's a dangerous thing or not. Had a bit of a slow start this morning. I managed to shut a door on my finger. I was rushing through it and kind of slammed it, and my arm was still behind. Took a while for the bleeding to stop. Nothing's broken, but I've got a huge blood blister on one side. So that was kind of annoying for quite a bit of this morning. I've made is it a problem for shipping all these bergs floating around? I mean, it looks quite spectacular from a kind of photography point of view and things like that, but I can imagine that it's probably quite a pain, especially when they maybe come in quite close to the coast. I'll try and show you where I'm at. So let me take this out of there. I've got a short cable on, but hopefully this will do. So today, that's obviously to the side of the door. So I've mounted utility knife, saw just to get out of its packet, stapler, and my big hammer, spanners, calipers on the back. It's my saw cupboard. So pretty much all my saws and a couple of bits for my adjustable square. And then in the corner, I made a little holder for some kind of drywall saws. Nasty pad saws, nasty little things. So they're tucked up out of the way. And I've got sort of clampy things, so I can't quite get the camera far enough. Hi Ryan. So I've got a couple of Stilsons, some vice grips, mole grips, whatever you want to call them, an adjustable, a pipe wrench. My other two are in my plumbing box. Got a pair of tin snips, and I've got my measuring gauges hanging up there as well. And I've got clamps and a little hand vise tucked in the corner, and I've mounted my brass brushes down there. And then over here, it's better to go further. I should have put a longer lead on. Down the corner, I've kind of put tools down there that are ones that I don't use quite so often. So I've got a pop riveter, got a telecoms tool, little roller, super strong big pincers, thick wire cutters. I've got my spoke shave down right in the corner, but I'll probably make some sort of holder for that and bring it over. Then I've got block planes and my kind of other plane, rasp, honing guide, and some diamond blades. Mounted me, I've got my hammer collection. So there's a variety of hammers, just in plastic tubes, going all the way across here. Apart from a couple of mandrels, got a thick mandrel, excuse that, and a fine one which I keep still there. It's waxed paper, stop me from rusting. I moved the multi-tool over as well, so I moved rotary tool and the multi-tool that I picked up on the weekend. What else we got? Hi Dan. Hi Jeff. So that's tucked in there. If you didn't see the yes, so I've made a new thing for, so that was the old screwdriver panel, and now I've got this new one, but what I'm going to have to do is take that off in order to drill it, because I can't get my drill in more than a kind of there. So for this fine stuff, so I'm going to have to take that off. Hi James. In order to do that, I think I'm tired enough now. I don't want to make any mistakes, so I shall take that off tomorrow. But what I'll probably do is get a piece of cardboard the right size and just plan out. I've got kind of my screwdrivers. So I've got screwdrivers here, precision screwdrivers. So I'm going to put some scissors in there, some long screwdrivers, bit driver, some stubbies, tweezers again. I also need to build something for my files, and I need to build something for my chisels. So I'm hoping that I can kind of get files and chisels maybe into that space there, but I might actually kind of think about mounting some of these. One thought is to actually kind of put another panel across the front here so that they fit inside there. Here that was as it was previously, but I've put some of my go-to tools up here. So I've got obviously adjustable wrenches, a little small pair of mole grips, tiny little stubby hammer. It's surprisingly useful. Getting quite all, need to get awkward little places. And then inside, I haven't done much inside yet. Nothing mounted on that side, but I've got kind of old hemostats, little clamps just mounted on the side, and I've still got that in there, which is kind of these kind of bit driver style sockets, and my 1/4 inch router bits. But I'm going to take that out again. It's going to be tomorrow, and again I'm going to get some cardboard involved. So I've got this piece of plywood, but I'm going to take, I'll use it that way around, and I'll drill that and get that in place. I have also found all my punches, so I need to have the space up there. And I'm still debating. I'm actually debating whether to take I wire cutters, and they are rubbish. They really are. I bought them because they were cheap. I'd broken my kind of pliers, standard combination pliers, and needle nose pliers I'd had for a long time. But actually snapped one of the arms off the wire cutters, and so I just bought the Silverline ones because they were cheap. I didn't have much money to spend on those at that time, so I think a little bit of birthday money, but I may. These are quite nice ones. So these side cuts, forged steel ones. So I might replace those, because they really are. To cut through anything more than about 1 millimeter, you have to kind of do it snip by snip, and that's just awful. Yeah, magnetic strip is a thought. But I have to admit, I'm not a huge fan of magnetic strips for storing tools. I don't know why. Like for kitchen knives, we thought about it a few times. I do have some things stored on magnets up in the corner here. I've got a number of things just stuck on the side of the metal cabinet with magnets. So a little putty knife, and actually kind of extended magnet. So it's not that I don't like magnets. I'm a bloody ex-physics teacher, so magnets are fun. I like magnets, but for some reason I've got an aversion to magnetic strips for storing tools. I really really, I've thought about it for a few years. I don't know why I've got this aversion, but I might. So that's essentially the progress for today. If you haven't seen yesterday's vlog, I did quite a lot of sorting around and moving around yesterday. I'll take the camera off the mount again. So yesterday was kind of a lot of moving things around. So CD player got moved to over there with some things on top of it. So there's a lot of moving around of objects either side. So tucked into the horrible corner and the things that I will not need very often, like the tins of pens. This being the strongest shelf in the Tinkerage, I've moved the heaviest things there, like the nuts and bolts, and big boxes of screws and nails. That got made yesterday or the night before. I'm losing track now. I have to watch my vlog. So that's taking place. The sink was clear until earlier. I moved the bouncer on there so I could get into the corner. And obviously I've got some wood stored there that I've been using today. I brought everything in now because air's starting to get a bit damp. And so I kind of freed up some space up here. I moved some sockets. I had 2 different socket sets and a number of kind of spare handles. So I've kind of, some kind of 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, and what's the other size? The 3 size, sort of 3/8, the slightly smaller one. So I kind of just sorted through. So I've got doubles of things, and but no more than that. Kept the best ones, and the other ones have all gone into a box, and I'll find a way of getting rid of them. Either I'll use them to generate something, almost like kind of Matt from Funkworks, the way he kind of makes like his little funks. Or I discovered that there's a repair cafe that meets twice a month at an environmental centre in town. So I might try and get along at some point and see what they're up to and whether they need tools. Because if they do, I've probably got some tools they can have. And if I know that they're going to can be used, then that kind of feels much better about it. So yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed that I didn't get absolutely finished today. There's no way I'm going to. It's 9:10 now. Yeah, I could work for another nearly 3 hours and get it theoretically finished today. But I will know that I'll just end up making mistakes. And that's the last thing that I want to do. I want to get it as right as I can. There's a few awkward little things like, how do you store folding rules? Actually, I've got a web place for that. I cleared a space. When I moved my saw over there, my jeweler's saw, I went over there. It meant that it freed up a little space along there where I put a pile of those tubes up. I've got things like rulers to hang up. So yeah, it's been a busy day. As I said, it was an annoying start to the day, slamming my finger in a door. That really didn't make for a pleasant start. I like to keep kind of rulers just tucked where they're easily accessible. They don't all have holes in for hanging up. And there's always awkward things. Yeah. How do you store squares? I normally kind of just sort of stand them on something, or you tuck them in, in which case the blade's facing kind of out. You have them mounted sideways on a. So yeah, so I kind of mount it like that. It was hard to put them that way up. Oh, my dog had this afternoon. It was kind of a case of, normally with ball throwing, she will want ball throwing, and 10 minutes is normally enough. But I think the best part of an hour, it's too short. And I suppose I could have just said no. I'm just too kind sometimes. Just considering hanging things on nails. The problem with nails, of course, is that maybe it's just because I buy cheap ones. The variation in but I still seem to be not moving. Oh no, I'm moving again. So if you've got your, let me find a block of wood. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. If I've got this out that this doesn't, I'm lagging so much here. I do apologize. I had this stored space, kind of essentially like that against the wall. Too short. It's interesting, while I just potter, it seems to be not too bad. No, it's going to have to go on a hook. So I'm just going to use a straight one, because it will be easier to get things on and off. And they're great for starting hooks off. And we can put a little ruler behind there. Got a bunch of I keep I've got about 3 or 4 speaker magnets which are mounted on the side of my Racco boxes. And they are quite good for like this, just putting a steel ruler on. and that's the easiest way of, I don't know, it's an odd thing. Clean. This is my old manual vernier caliper. This is one of the ones that's just etched and there's no paint on, which makes it really hard to see. But I've thought for quite a few years of just maybe kind of getting some black paint, just dismantle it. It's not that difficult to take apart. Wipe some paint on, wipe it off again, let it dry. I don't know what, yeah, I've 3 calipers, 2 digital, 1 vernier. This one is my old one. This was like £6 off Amazon, and I had to repair it once, and it's gone again. I don't think it's possibly repairable again. And I've kind of hung on to it on the kind of thought that I might be able to turn it into maybe like a depth gauge for the table saw. Yeah, I'm breaking up a little bit this evening, so hopefully it won't be too bad a show for her. It's those who've just joined, I was thinking of, or the plan was that today would be the last of the reorganization. Now that might be part of the reason why it's not. If you can make that out, that little smudge in the middle of there, it's part of corrosion. But it's the chances of it getting, well, it's not going to get finished tonight. As I said at the start, I've got where I'm going to put my screwdrivers over here. I've got to take it off in order for it to work. Well, for me to be able to drill it, and that's just not going to happen. This evening, I'll be too tired, and I'll make mistakes, and then I'll get cross. Hey JP, I discovered another Kent maker today. The gentleman maker on Instagram. He's about 10 miles from me, less than 10 miles. I don't know if he's on YouTube yet. There's some good stuff. Oh, now that's promising. There's some signs of life in my calipers. I think his name's Kelly Sands. Something like a gentleman maker. He, and I think he's a full-time maker. No. I had a flash of something on the screen on there. So I think they're going to go in the drawer of stuff. May or may not get repaired at some point. trying to work out. Check what I'm doing over here. Just trying to work out how to fit that lot in. No, I'm not, I need to hang that. Finding balance on things as well. So let's just draw a little line. Over there. I hope you've all had a good day. The weather here been a little bit mixed. It's quite dull this morning, even chilly. It brightened up nicely this afternoon. Over there. Phillips screw. I don't know how that happens sometimes. Just kind of. That's in a box of screws I put in there yesterday. It should be all posi drive. I was just wondering why it wasn't fitting in, and it's Phillips screw. I do have some Phillips heads, but I just. That's my bag of scrap down there, scrap metal. But I never buy Phillips. I never buy slotted screws if I can help it. Although, you know, things like the screws you get for that's another stuck box. Screws you get for electrical sockets are all slotted heads. Apart from things like that where you've got no choice, I do have slotted head screws. I do have. No, I'm pretty sure I've got rid of all my Phillips head screws apart from. Ah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think there's loads of people around. I had a message last year sometime. I put something up, or I commented. I commented on. Yeah, it was when I put up one of my EU cross I made. Cool, of 18 months ago, and I put it on something like Woodworking UK's Facebook group, which I think I've come out of just because it was just too big. And I put up that up, and somebody commented, and they lived in the next village. And we had a little chat on Messenger shortly. But again, not a chat that's interested, particularly in YouTube, not even watching it really, but he kind of did a bit of stuff. And so we had a chat about some things, and you're saying about a couple of the local trade joiners, joining kind of sort of shops, and which ones were good for getting timber. Apparently there's a good one down in Ham Street that just deal with predominantly oak. We've got a rather specialist wood shop in just a few hundred meters from my house, and apparently they're not very sociable, and they use absolutely every scrap. And I've seen how they work because they've got open windows, and yeah, there's never any scrap. So Yeah, so there are people around. There's a couple of other. I had a message from somebody else, Sevenoaks Way, 3 or 4 days ago. Cut marks. I'll check that out. Let me write that down. Written that down. I shall check that when I go back in the house. Well, I'm just kind of slowly working through tools, trying to work out what is what. It's awkward little things as well. It's like, you know, sort of digital angle gauge for the table saw, and my kind of multimeters. I've got 3 multimeters. One's too big that it sits up on the shelf, but then I've got these other ones that I kind of will grab, and you often need a couple of them. You know, you can set voltage up in different parts, or measure voltage and current in a circuit. But they're not. I wondered about trying to put some little hooks on them, or maybe some sort of almost like kind of keyhole eye, the sort of thing you get on the back of a picture, or useful on a mirror to hold up. But maybe that's a little project, because otherwise they just kind of have to tuck on a shelf, and I've kind of run out of. Oh, hang on, no, they can go up there for a moment. See, that goes up there as well. There we go, let's get them out of the way. I also screwdriver a bit earlier as well. I found this bit holder, and I thought, right, it fits inside some of these plastic tubes where my other bit holder doesn't, but it seems to have lost its magnet. So somewhere on my floor, tucked away, is a posi-drive bit. No, actually, I think I'm going to just chuck that. No, I can't chuck that yet because, or can I? No, I need to hang on to it because it fits inside some of the plastic tubes over here, whereas my main bit holder doesn't. So I shall do that. And I've still got to think about the things that are in these plastic tubes. That was mounted over here on the wall, and I do find this useful. One possibility is just to shorten it, and maybe get rid of the end one. I can make that shorter by a couple of inches, and that would fit over. But I was thinking about maybe trying to put chisels there in kind of a slotted. Yeah, I saw that. That was one you had from Carl Jacobson, yeah? Was that right, JJ? Absolutely awesome. I've got some bowling balls down in my storage shed that I want to do something with. Yeah, 10-pin bowling balls. It's a couple of them are cracked. They're all ones that are kind of, there's something wrong with them. There's one that's complete, but the finger holes are in the wrong position or something. And I had a student, crikey, about 5 or 6 years ago, who worked in a bowling alley, and when she heard that I was after some bowling balls, I said, well, I can get you some. So she did. And there's a few ideas that I had in mind to do. One of them was to make a giant pendulum, and that's good fun. And I still might do, but I have to stick a large eye bolt through. And then the difficulty is finding somewhere that's able to hold it and is rigid. So the weight isn't too much of a problem. They're only about sort of 10 pounds or so. but you need a cable that's not going to oh, sorry, James, if you're still there, I missed your comment about Torque-head screws. Yeah, I've got a few Torque-head screws. I do quite like them. I've not tried the Robertson Square ones. There was a stand at Maker Central. I wasn't that interested in going to quite a few of the stands. Meeting people. But anyway, if you've got a giant pendulum, the idea you need something that's got a rigid fixing point, because if there's any flex in the fixing point, then you could end up, technically you shouldn't, but you could end up with getting whacked in the face if you kind of do it and let go. I don't know how well they would turn. Right at the back of my summer house, I call it, which is kind of the lower one in the garden. One's cracked in half. So there's a massive crack in it. And I can't remember if it's that one that's also there's a core and an outer, and the outers. There's one that's in really good condition because the holes are in the wrong place, or they're too small. There's another one. Next time I get that far into the summer house, I'll have a look, and if there is, then yeah, it should turn. I mean, they're turned anyway. That's how they're made, I think. Certainly sort of finished. I mean, they're polished. It could be an interesting thing to sort of try. Now, like me, got too many knives. I got to think. I was counting up a while ago, kind of how many knives I've got, and not just things like carving knives or scalpels, which I've got a box full of scalpels, but kind of Swiss Army knife, kind of sort of pocket knives, things like that, and it's just a crazy amount. Yeah, I bet. I mean, Carl's stuff is fantastic. I mean, he's fantastic. His work is fantastic. We're all after that viral video, though, aren't we? Could do the viral video or two. And JB, I have to thank you for the shout out you put out last week. I think I've gained good 30, nearly 30. I'm up to 655, 656. There's a little bit of variation. I lost one the other day. But I really appreciate that. Hey, Adele. Yeah, I've got rid of them now. I did find one the other day, but did anyone ever come across the uni screws? Now, they were an interesting concept. It was almost like a hex head, but instead of just a conventional hex head, as you might get on, say, a bolt, it was stepped. You're kidding. I like the way I like his video when he's got Berkey's just outside Canterbury Cathedral, and kind of Berkey's just standing there. There's just people wandering around. They almost kind of want to say, wish to be in there and kind of go, do you know who that is? That's Andy Berkey. It's just like tourists wandering around, kind of completely not knowing. But yeah, the uni screw it was a stepped. So kind of in profile. Can't remember if it's 3 or 4 steps. I think it was just 3. So the driver bit essentially looked like that, with each of those 3 steps being hexagonal. and they were awful. I got given about 5 boxes of them, and one bit, I couldn't find a replacement bit, and the bit was a little bit worn. Maybe that was the problem. And they just they were just awful screws. Tell me about whether I don't know whether you can in a public forum. Yeah, it was this when you were picking them up at the airport. I mean, Andy's a nice guy, but I'm not sure whether worth getting shot for. Depends who's trying to shoot him, of course. I'm assuming it was law enforcement. So I also found the other day amongst my leftovers from my school stuff, it's my panic button, which might have needed that for Andy.
Panic sequence in 3, 2, 1.
Again, I need to put something on the back so I can actually stick that up somewhere. Yeah, I'm going to make a chisel holder, but I'm not sure where I'm going to put my chisel holder. One thought is that I actually mount chisels in there, but I do like to be able to see the blades of the chisels to make it easy to find which one I'm getting, although I've had them covered in the past with just a sort of blade showing, so I can see the blade from underneath. Yeah, I've got another one somewhere that rather than, in fact, no, I've got 2 other ones. I've got one that says easy, or that was easy. I think that was one that Staples, the kind of stationery place, was selling. And there's another one that I acquired that had the ability to record onto it. So it's like a 3-way switch on the bottom, off in the middle, and one side's record and the other side's play. So I kind of just recorded something along the lines of, "Oh, shut up." So if kind of somebody came into my office when I was at school, I could just kind of bang that and shut them up. Crikey. Sounds a bit officious. I mean, I'm presuming you didn't have kind of like a rucksack on and kind of wires leading down to your kind of glove or something. Or carrying a kind of set of easy wood chisels to show to Andy. Yeah, it's not fun having kind of people with guns asking what you're doing. I've kind of had a couple of situations with that, and it can be a bit trouser filling. Just kind of getting to a point where I'm not sure. There's a couple of things that still need sorting out. So I got lucky then, because I picked up Jake Waldron from Terminal 3 drop-off point, and that was quick. So literally, I drove up. We'd spoken on the phone a few, 2 minutes earlier, and yeah, that's it, Making Monster. And so he told me what he was wearing. I told him what car I was in. Literally drove up, stopped by him. He jumped in, drove off, nice and quick, and that was smooth. Then picked up Dan Brent, and I mean Jake literally had just a bag. It was literally a case of he threw it in the back, he jumped in the front, gone. No, he had it in. It was in his. He's got a kind of hard Pelican case, which he's carrying. I kind of thought, yeah, he probably would have ended up with a gun in his face if he'd been wearing it. Because Dan was a bit harder to pick up. We ended up stopping for quite a few minutes. He got into. There was somebody in a high-vis jacket kind of said, "You can't wait here to be picked up." But we did it anyway. I didn't end up with a gun in my face on that one. No, maybe I was lucky. Maybe I came. Yeah, it was kind of. It was around about lunchtime, so maybe that was it. Yeah, his mask is cool though. Yeah, scissors are a pain. There's certain things that just are a complete pain to store. It's like I've got all these precision screwdrivers, these kind of watchmakers style screwdrivers. And they're the sort of thing that I use quite regularly. They came in just cheap plastic cases. And yeah, I think we were talking about magnets a bit earlier there before you came in. I've kind of got this thing about magnetic strips, but maybe I need to get over that, because actually that magnetic strip there might be quite good for it. The biggest one fit in. No, biggest one wouldn't quite fit in. That is one way of doing it. I could Yeah, good night, Sparky. Good night, Simon. Just wondering if they will all fit on. No, one's not going to do it. I could hot glue magnet onto a piece of wood. And I've got stacks of magnets. I've got a pot somewhere. I need to actually create a map where some of my pots are. The other one I want to think about in terms of storage, and again, magnets might be the way. Maybe I'll have to get over my kind of lack of thought. Things like needle files, storing those. I mean, they're magnetic. I quite like having the package just to keep them clean, but then they're files, so they're not really clean. But then maybe I just need to use the amount of time I use precision screwdrivers. I mean, some of these, in fact, that's in a terrible state. I need to grind that one off. It's chipped and bent. And I tend to use, I've got some screwdrivers that I had when I was at university. These two. So I had these when I was doing my degree. They were part of a kit, and they're really nice. They're quite long. It's a PZ0. Actually, no, it's Phillips. It's a Phillips 0, and that's about a 3-4 mil. Put that 2.5, 3. No, it's 3. Hi, Jim. And so I use those two quite a lot. And I've also got a Stanley 3, which is completely straight. And again, I've had that for decades. But they work quite nicely. And I've got my electrical 2.5. So it comes to really fine stuff, I think, actually. Those are just going to live in a drawer. And that's then one less thing to have to worry about, because I don't grab them very often. Which does make me wonder whether I shouldn't do the same thing. So I've got a spare drawer for my punches. Because I've got some nail punches. And some ordinary punches. But when you want to punch, you want to punch. You don't have to be hunting around in a drawer. It's interesting. I used to be able to. I can't keep a pencil behind my ear anymore. I used to be able to. Cool, pencil's bent. How did I manage that? Got a bent pencil. Yeah, I used to be able to keep a pencil behind my ear without any problem. And then when I got reading glasses, and I started kind of wearing them on my head like that, even though they're not kind of behind my ear when they're on my head, it stopped me being able to do it. Now I can get a pencil behind my ear and it'll stay there if I take my glasses off. But I used to be able to do it with my glasses on. But then when I had the reading glasses, for some reason it stopped. Or maybe get a dermal implant. Yeah, dermal implant might do the job. Yeah, I will. At some point, Jim, I want to come and see your workshop, especially that big CNC you've got. And at some point, Jamie, yes, I do want to come over and I'll have you tied if you want. Yeah, I do have the lab coat. I've got a couple of lab coats because I've got one that's just tucked away somewhere in the house. You realize this one needs a wash, but I might take it in the house for a wash. Yeah, because that's you can't tell. This lighting's so poor in here. The collar is grimy; it's just covered in sawdust. This is not my best lab coat. Oh, but I do have a screwdriver in there. There we go. It's one of those bit drivers. I've got a couple of these. A couple of them have got these double-ended bits. Really, really useful. I always fancied extra arm and head, a bit like Zaphod Beeblebrox from Hitchhikers. Yeah, my other lab coat. This is the one I used to keep here for kind of just protecting myself when I'm doing stuff. My lab coat that I kept in school was the one I had when I was working first in industry, and that was covered in splatter, which I always thought just looked a lot better when demonstrating to kind of students. Drink your beer, that sounds good. Yeah. Do we get to stay over so we don't have to drive? He's another Kent boy, if I remember rightly, JP. So I think we've now got, I now know of, including myself, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 us living in Kent. That are kind of active on YouTube or Instagram. JP, you mentioned one now this evening. So, bit of me was wondering about, thinking about the Maker Fest that you talked about on the show last week, of maybe having kind of like a pre-Maker Fest Kent meetup. There are a few people in the Bristol area, James. Hey, make a curry night. Now that sounds just right. That sounds like a really good idea. But James, Bristol way, you've got Phil Jarrett. Phil makes things. He's Bristol. Just down the road from you, or going down. Well, he used to work in Bristol, but he's over an hour commute was Steve House, of course. Yeah, Billiam. Ollie with bare hands. He's Cheddar way. He put up his first video today. Bloody brilliant it is. Absolutely brilliant. So there's a few. Phil Edwards on Instagram. Fill your pockets. He's Bristolian. Beard X16 is down in Poole, Dorset. He lives just around the corner. Well, it's a fairly big corner from Andy Heel. Dorset. There's quite a few guys, Dorset and Hampshire way. Yeah. Chris Smith, Madmaker, Paul Wilmore, is he down that way? No Master Creations, he's down kind of Hampshire way. William Head. Trying to think of some of the other ones. There's quite a bunch in kind of Portsmouth, Southampton, Bournemouth, with a few just kind of extending out into kind of Hampshire, Dorset. Right down in the West Country, there's Jonathan Whitaker in Plymouth. He's one of the people I regretted not talking to at Maker Central. His carving is really inspirational. He produces some fantastic stuff. Wiltshire way. I'm trying to think who's Wiltshire way. Who was I chatting to? There's somebody I was chatting to last week that was Salisbury way. Just in Gloucester, you've got KK Makes. He's not too far. There's somebody Bath way as well. Oh no, I'm thinking there's a physics teacher YouTuber. He's Bath, so I'm mixing that one up. Yeah, so there's quite a few up. Yes, but it is a bit. Yeah, Salisbury's kind of a little bit further over, isn't it? I forget now. I used to live in Bournemouth. And mother-in-law at the time lived in Andover. So that was a bit of about an hour's trek to get up there. So there's a few people around. I think one of the Facebook groups, I'm not sure if it's Fools with Tools. Yeah, there's a Facebook group. I think Fools with Tools has one, and I think maybe Small Workshop YouTube Facebook group has a map as well. So I think there are actually a couple of the maps round and about. A bunch of unsorted screws now. I've got some screws that I've taken out. Let's leave those there for the moment. Just kind of sort of tidying a little bit. I think tomorrow it's going to be a case of getting on this last lot. I've just got this last little lot down here to deal with. So there's that lot. Well, that's the drill bits have got a place. So that's got a place. So basically it's just this lot and those. These are my precision torques. Quite useful nowadays. These are about £2 in Poundland. They're okay as long as things aren't too firmly fixed in place. I think it's a very good idea, JP. I think it's a fantastic idea. I was thinking about that when I realized let's have a look. Yeah, Kelly A. Sands, Gentleman Maker on Instagram. He's done a nice toilet roll holder with what looks like sandpaper on it. So he's not far from me. What are you thinking, JP? Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook? Combination of above for communications? I know several of us are on several of it. Yeah, set something up. Sounds good. I look forward to seeing the invite when I switch Facebook on. Oh, I forgot I got that to sort out as well. Another thing in the morning, sort out. So there's that. So that's going to be an easy one. I'm just going to take that one off. You've never done this before. PVC pipe, really cheap stuff. This was left over from a job. I think I bought like a job lot. Yeah, if you buy one of those cases, buy 5, it's cheaper than buying 4. It's got a 45 degrees. And particularly if you use self-drilling screws, like I do, just drill through. Some people glue them together as well, really easy. And you can change the angle if you want, depending on what you want to store. Great for, just take that screw out of there, put it with those other ones, throw that in the bucket of bits. So that, yeah, hot glue will do it if you've got. Thanks, Ryan. Hot glue will do it if they're nice and sort of clean to start with, and of course you can use solvent weld. I just don't like anything in the workshop that's kind of permanent. I like to be able to change, so I never glue shop projects unless I have to. But the only problem with it, I put this on just this piece of melamine, and the length of screws I used, yeah, the back of it is lethal. Which isn't too bad if you've put it up already. And they nest quite well. So I mean those are all there. They're quite solid, and there's been a fair bit of weight in there over the years. But particularly for kind of pokey things like pencils and pens, it's and screwed tweezers. I've got a stack here of tweezers that I need to stow. The advantage of something I'm looking for, these feeler gauges. Is a nice, good quality screw gauge, bolt gauge. There was a tested video up earlier. It wasn't Adam Savage. It was one of the kind of regular, but not the guys he does the podcast with, just one of the kind of regular contributors, talking about kind of screw sizes and how you kind of categorize screws and bolts and threads. And it wasn't anything new, but I quite like watching programs like that just to see if they kind of what they've got in the way of kind of gadgets. And I find it's extraordinary how expensive thread gauges can be, and kind of screw gauges. And of course, you need metric and imperial. And then you've got to kind of think, well, do I kind of saw a nice one on Amazon a while ago, and it was kind of one of these ones that kind of comes up, but then it's not available. And it was a cord. And on the cord was the series of, it looked almost like those, what do you call them? You kind of have on the bottom of your jacket, cord locks. The kind of putting for elastic. It looked like it was a whole string of those, but they were getting increasing or decreasing size, and each one was made up of. It was a metal. I guess it was metal. One side was essentially a female, and the other side was the male of a particular thread size, and which was marked on the side. So you could literally come along with, oh look, I've got a nut, pop it on the male thread, and check which size it is. And that was all very nice, but it was looked quite useful, but it would only then work for those particular sizes. I can't remember. I think it was a metric. So you kind of sort of standard M3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But I know that kind of certainly when I was sorting through my nuts and bolts the other day, and I've got some of those are rolled. There's Imperial, and they are very, very useful. But the number of times I've tried kind of going, oh, that looks about the right size, try it. Oh, it's too small, it's too big. Or it's the right size, but it's the wrong thread. So having some gauges, yeah, like you said, Jim, invaluable. It's 9 now, somebody's left. It's interesting how the stability kind of sort of changes. Had quite a lot of dropping out earlier, and now it's kind of quite stable again. I think that's because I was trying to actually do some work earlier rather than just chatting. The work's actually come to a standstill. At some point, I've seen a few people getting the wearer. Carl from Strawbite Workshop, he's changed a lot of his screwdrivers over to wearers. At some point, I think I might need to invest in some better screwdrivers. Now, these are Draper Experts, and I use these a lot. But at least one of them, I've turned the handle on the shaft with something that's stuck. Quite like Draper tools. Yeah, they're cheap. They're not always great quality, but they are cheap and they're reasonable quality. And I've got a fly buzzing around now. I like the summer in terms of improved weather, but not increased amount of flies. Now that's a pain. That tube I took off was the reason it was at the side. It was because it was a larger one that I put on afterwards, because it fitted my torque and don't fitting anywhere else. So now I've got to think about what I'm going to do with those. I don't want to tuck those in the drawer because I do use those a lot. Yeah, and getting both is just not financially a good idea, is it, Jim? Yeah, those laser tip ones. I mean, just the whole wearer setup. I think I was at the FFX tool show earlier in the year. And they had that massive wearer stand. The complete set of, and they are just lovely. Yeah, some of the Halford stuff is good as well. I think you can afford it. I've got my one and only snap-on tool is this slotted screwdriver. It was left behind by a washing machine installer in our first house. So super strong, and I love the fact that it's got a hex there. So if you're, really, you've got something stuck, you can just put a wrench on it, push it in, concentrate on pushing it in. Joker wrenches. What's a joker wrench, Jim? Enlighten me. That's a phrase I've not heard before. Ah, now could I do that? Yeah. That's that storage solution sorted. Just literally tuck it on the outside using the screws. So I'm going to mark that up for cutting that off tomorrow. Ow. Tidy those screws going through the back are lethal. Yep, I'll do nicely. Yeah, but do you want to catch a screwdriver that's bounced up off the floor? I mean, the potential there for impalement seems quite high. Oh, no. Okay, I've only seen the wear of screwdrivers. I'm not sure if they had wrenches at FFX. Maybe it wasn't complete range. I would like some decent hex keys and torque keys. I mean, these again, Draper Blue. If anyone from Draper is watching, yeah, happy for sponsorship. And this set is my hex set. I have one of the drawers over here which seriously need labeling. Yeah, I've got a few hex keys in there, kind of odd and imperials. So that's my micro. And I've got a couple of old ones in there. And I think I have another drawer somewhere with some other ones in. But that's my kind of go-to metric. That's why I bought that for kind of bicycle, sort of mountain biking. This is kind of before multi-tools were a big thing. There's the cool tool, which was really nice but very expensive. But I would like some decent Allen keys, metric and imperial with kind of ball head. Drill bits. All my drill bits went into one of the Whammo boxes, and the ones that didn't fit into there, got another box over there which takes some, and the little ones ended up in there, and I think that's where they all. Plug cutters. I found my plug cutters. So they went up into the same one with the drill bits. One of the things I want to do actually with drill bits, when you're in the work, I keep this close to hand. And normally it's just tucked up. I'll put that away for this evening. It's just tucked up, fairly easy reach. But it's a bit of a pain if you want to sort of drill quickly to get something out. So I'm thinking of almost having some sort of little holder close by with just maybe something rotary. Lidl was selling one. I think Lidl was selling one at the moment, where everything's just in one place, one little pot. But it's kind of really easily accessible rather than just grabbing a huge thing with 13mm ones in. Yeah, I did. I was hoping to have got into town today to get. I had to pick up a repeat prescription. It's annoying now. I've got to take drugs on a regular basis. But it means I'll live longer and see my kids grow up, then I've got to do it. I was kind of hoping to pop into Lidl in the process and get some self-centering bits. Because they're selling some of those. And I really could do with those because I always end up messing up hinges. And but yeah, the rest are just in there. I'll come up with a better solution. Brilliant, JP. Fantastic. Kent makers. Yeah, three self-centering ones from Lidl are £3, I think. But I do one. I don't mind kind of buying a. I mean, these are little clamps. Pretty sure these are little ones. Yes, these were little ones. And okay, they're not Bessie's, but they do the job. My drill press down there was little, and I've had that for 16 years. And so I've got a few little things. This, oh no, that's Work Zone, so that's Aldi. It's pretty much the same sort of stuff. I mean, these are just a set of bits. And I bought this, I had, apart from the Y bit, I had all of these kind of security bits, but I'd taken them out and made my own holder for them, which took quite a lot of space. And I hardly ever used them. And I spotted this in Aldi, and they're all nicely labeled, as well as being labeled on the side of the bit. Each one is labeled on the case as well. And I can't remember how much this was. I think it was £8. And it's a nice strong case. So it's just a case of, I'm going to grab that, have that, and get rid of then this strip of wood. I hadn't made them quite the right size. They were ever so slightly too tight, which meant that I was constantly kind of having to get them out. Even a couple of them had to get pliers to get them out. I do wonder sometimes if I've got too many tweezers as well. There's 4 there. 2 different types. Another 2 tweezers. 4 locking. These from jewelry making. Really, really useful. Just for holding things. My branch, it hit and miss, depends what you want. Best thing about my local branch is that it's 70 yards from tool station, which means if one hasn't got it, you get it from the other. Let's have a look what I mixed. Decided I don't like this ruler sticking out. Where it's sticking out, I think I need to find a different place to put that. Tempted. Put it there. Put it in there. And if I put it there, oh no, I couldn't be able to open that. Put it there. Right, let's go and try it again. I quite like this style of these. I have from my brother-in-law. They're not. I like the fact that you've got a kind of something to grip. Although I don't think that's really critical. But they're nice long reach. So that can be useful. But I'd quite like a set of those. If I didn't get the wearer ones. Although, yeah, they don't survive being used, the eye holes as wrenches, as that one clearly shows. Not that you should need to. Just trying to think what to do about all my files. All these files again, kind of B&Q specials. Interestingly, I've got two sets from B&Q, theoretically identical sets, but the cut is slightly different on each of the files. So one set is slightly coarser than the other. I mean, they're perhaps not as good as some of the really high quality Swiss files, or some of the old good quality Sheffield files. I mean, this one here got a cut from a car boot sale. Yeah, looks like Valor, which are a cracking make at a fraction of the price, and the majority of what I do, they do the job. Yeah, Valor, I can't see the cut number on there. But yeah, nice bit of Swiss made. And that, tell you what, keep a lookout in Tesco's. The UK based. I've picked up, I've only got 2 rasps. That was a B&Q. It was on offer, round one. And this half round, I picked up, I think, for something like £1 from Tesco's. Handle's a little bit kind of not straight, but which is great if you're actually using it that way, but not so great if you're using it that way. But it cuts really well. Yeah, I've had tins with them in, Jim. I've had toolboxes with them in. I did have, yeah, here we go. This was underneath the set of shelves I had in the corner, and these holes, this is what I kind of last had. These are set up for half of the files. The other half I had until the reorganization. I had in tubes horizontally here, and the disadvantage of that is that you can't see which file it is without actually taking it out partially. But if you've only got kind of 3 files, a flat, a round, and a half round, and if those are the ones you use on a regular basis, then you actually pretty quickly learn which one's which. Or color code, I suppose. Yeah, some people like to color code things. I quite like seeing some of these. And you talk about like cabinets, drawers, and file cabinets, JP. But so you get. There's a couple of people on YouTube. I can't think of any names off the top of my head at the moment. And they've got the big kind of mechanics toolboxes, the snap-on boxes, or there's a few other makes, and just everything. You open up a drawer, and there, the drawer may only be this deep. You put it out, and there's kind of some of them are just kind of it's an empty drawer, but some of them, everything has its place. You've got a cutout foam, and it's such a great way of keeping tools organized. Although I kind of wonder how they manage with the, oh look, I've just been to this place, I've just found this new tool, it's really cool, I'm going to buy it, but it doesn't fit in my really expensive set of cabinets because I've got a new set of foam. Do you kind of, I've got a new tool, I have to rearrange my toolbox, therefore I have to get a whole new set of foam. I suppose it's okay if you've still got space. But if you kind of want to put things in, say, order, so if you've got kind of, a set of spanners, and this is an odd one. I managed to lose. I don't know how, where. That's a 13. That's a 15. That is a 14, but it's not from the same set. And I did have a 14. I don't know where it went, when it went, but it disappeared. So if you kind of then had, let's say you bought you've got 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and you find somewhere selling half sizes of something. How do you cope with that if you've got kind of your nice foam inserts? I think the ones with the, I'm only short, and kind of if you've got something that I don't like kind of having drawers that are kind of up here. I know that you get some of the cabinets, And a bit of me wishes I had cabinetry in here, but there just wouldn't be. I would get off my sticker wall problem, because I still don't know what I'm going to do about stickers. I'm going to double some. I'm going to review the work. That's probably the first video I'm going to do once I finish the reorganization. And I want. In fact, I might even try and. I'm going to try and do that tomorrow, because Aldi is selling this again, and that will get me. Hopefully that'll get a few views, which could come in useful. So doubles I'm going to pop on there. I have actually thought of roller blind. I've got a roller blind down in the corner there. Blackout blind was in my youngest's bedroom, and it stopped working properly. Partly because it was fitted slightly. It was slightly too long to be fitted in, and I've actually thought of trying to find a way of maybe fitting it kind of in here as almost like a backdrop, maybe across the door, just for kind of filming purposes. But my concern with stickers, and because it is something I thought about, is that going up and down, the stickers are going to either keep their shape or come off or stick on each other. Well, that's it. You just end up, Jim. You just do end up with just stuff crammed on top of it, and that's what happened in here with the sink. I haven't been able to use this, and I can't use it now. Actually, yeah, I haven't been able to use this sink in over 3 years because there's been stuff on it constantly for the last 3 years. And okay, hopefully by tomorrow the wood will go. There'll be a pot with my dad's tools that I want to kind of frame in some way. That's only there because I needed to get into the corner. So that will come off there tomorrow. And that's free. And then I've just got to be disciplined. And part of the point of reorganizing was so that I could be disciplined. So that, I wouldn't use that for anything other than current projects. That's a thought. So I've just had a little bit of a thought. My circular saw is right here, but I don't use my circular saw on a huge basis. So I'm kind of wondering about actually moving it up to the higher shelf and bringing a couple of things that I use more frequently, like the drill bits and that socket set down, and my glue gun down onto that shelf. I need to consolidate a couple of these tools as well. And I've got a Delta D. Hey, I found the drill bit. Not drill bit. The bit that I lost earlier, which is actually not a posi drive. It was a Torx head. The question is, which box did it come from? Come from here, or did it come from the packet? No, it came from the packet. I sometimes keep the sort of Torx head screws keep a Torx head. Yeah, that's the right one. Actually, in a kind of packet with them. I've also wondered about having a word with James from Molten Make and find out where he gets his magnetic things from. I've got a few little places where I could put magnetic stickers, but I like the idea of kind of being able to put a sticker and then rearrange and put the sticker somewhere else, rather than slapping a sticker on and then it's stuck. So for example, if I change the bandsaw one day, I'm going to lose the stickers that are on it. I know I can ask for more, but sometimes people's stickers change, and it's kind of like a posterity thing. Yeah, I'm not sure that I can't remember what the surface of that blind is like. It's a blackout blind. So yeah, there's smooth on one side, fabricy on the other. I think some stickers would probably be okay. I think depend partly on the composition of the sticker, I suppose, because some of them are much more pliable and some are thicker and less pliable. Yes, James, completely plumbed in. The other side of that is another room exactly the same size, which feeds through into the conservatory. And it's open. Essentially, when we moved in, he came out the kitchen door into the conservatory. There was just this kind of 5-sided box with a little window. And that was plumbed for a washing machine, but you could still see it was bare brick, and you could see where it had been separated from essentially the old outhouse on one side and the coal bunker on the other side. The brick was, you could see whitewashing and coal dust in places still on it. And they'd taken out the center, they'd taken off the doors and walls. And so it was open into the conservatory. And I ended up dry lining it, insulating it. The quotes we had from professionals for doing it were just crazily expensive. I was paying obviously B&Q full whack prices for the materials, and I did it for I was going to say a fifth of the price that they were asking for, and it probably took me longer, but they were looking at charging the builders we had in, probably about £600 or £700 a day. I don't mind paying a good professional rate, but when I was earning as a teacher effectively £120 a day, although less if you actually worked it out on hours, but basically about £120 a day was the going rate for full-time teacher. It was just like, no. And so when we did that, I plumbed in, it already had a cold feed. I plumbed in hot feed from the kitchen, and I just extended it through the wall. There was really a feed through for cold into here, because this was the old scullery. So the corner here where you see there's a kind of brick jutting out, and then it goes under here, that was the old chimney. Now that's cased off at the top. There's big thick concrete case on top. And this we still got it in the garden, Belfast sink, a couple of huge brackets, and the brackets, I think I kept the brackets and just extended them up using scaffolding board. And when I took out the old sink when I redid the kitchen and moved that, so it's a stainless steel 1.5 bowl. No, it's not a 1.5 bowl. It's just a single bowl. I put in a 1.5 bowl. So it's fairly solid stainless steel sink. So I just popped that in there with the old taps. Just put them on there, extended the hot water through. and I haven't used it for a few years, but it was really, at times, it's really, really useful. So I just put on some 18mm plywood, cut a couple of holes so if the tap's dripped, it would still go in. Had to sort out the plumbing because the original plumbing, literally, it was just a gutter, a concrete gutter in the floor to a hole in the wall, which then goes over the outside drain. And just anything, it was just gale coming in winter. So I've actually put a proper trap in and run a pipe out through that hole and filled it in with foam. Although it doesn't stop little critters coming in. I found when I was yesterday or the day before, I couldn't find my new. Last year, I bought one of the really nice Bosch glue guns. And for the life of me, I could not find it. I went through every drawer, every toolbox. In the end, I found it tucked up behind. I've got one of these little mini circular saws. It was given as a birthday or Christmas present a few years ago. One of those kind of essentially an angle grinder with a kind of a blading, which has been quite useful. I mean, it's one of those challenge ones from Argos. It's has had its moments of being very, very useful, and it was tucked up behind that, and of course the cables did a good job of disguising it. But in the process of looking for it, I cleared out underneath. I literally went into the corner of below the bench here, on the first shelf and on the shelf below. Well, the floor is the shelf, the bottom shelf. So I've got a big box full of scrap metal, mostly aluminium, and the interesting bits of steel, and nothing much that's really suitable for welding, unfortunately. And behind that is another box with some kind of electronic-y bits, kind of projects, partially built projects, old toys, electronic toys, ones for cannibalizing. So I pulled that out as well to have a dive through. And there was a huge pile of the nuts inside hazelnuts. So you get the kind of the cob and then you get the inner nut. Huge pile of the inner nuts stacked in the corner. So obviously I've had a little visitor in here at some point. It's a few years since I've been in that corner, so I'm kind of hoping that they came in with the old door and haven't been in since. But door mice particularly can get through tiny little spaces, so hopefully though they're not. No evidence of anything being chewed other than the nuts. And we've got a hazel tree in the garden, so quite a way to carry it though. It's a good kind of 60 feet down the garden. I thought there'd be other places to get it. Yeah, I got my stickers from Panini. That's something bread. Yeah, I've got quite a few. Yeah, I want one of the original Seymour stickers. I got one of the Queen ones. Yeah, I got my stickers, Jamie, my new ones, my old ones, in fact, from somewhere on eBay. And to be honest, mate, they were cheaper. I mean, quality, maybe not quite there, but I'm more than happy with the quality overall, and quite fast delivery. Okay, good night, James. Yeah, I think I'll be turning in soon. So 11:15. Ah, okay, yep. Well, you've got a Seymour sticker permanently attached to your leg, haven't you, JP? It's one of your tats, isn't it? I gotta wonder how many pairs of scissors I need as well. But when you need the right pair, you need the right pair, don't you? I've got 6 pairs of stainless steel scissors there. 2 angled, 2 quite small. Those are embroidery scissors. They're quite sharp, but a very narrow blade, as opposed to these, which I think are technically nail scissors, which are much stronger. And then 2 pairs of kind of essentially nursing scissors. And then I've got a pair of wallpaper shears, which are really quite nice. A couple of spots of rust. A couple of pairs of I thought they were Fiskars, but that's a pair of staples, but I think they're pretty much made by Fiskars. I've got this pair of Fiskars, which are beautiful, really sharp. And it's just a pair of Saharan. Just a nice pair of scissors. I bet I've probably got more elsewhere as well. Plus 2 pairs of tough cuts. One of which is serrated and the other isn't. Which is why I have 2 pairs. Or it's a finer serration on one than the other. So if you cut, this will cut a penny, but it leaves quite a serrated edge. This one is a little bit better, but maybe I don't need 2 pairs. I don't know. Better in terms of it's actually not, this more serrated ones are actually stronger and cut thicker things. I'm not going to cut webbing that often. Yeah, you can't forget Berkey. But I tell you what I did with Berkey, Mega Central. I found B&M, one of the cheap stores, had a pile of sweets, and I posted something on Instagram or Facebook. I think it was it was Facebook on the We Like to Make Stuff group, and it was a picture showing some unicorn sweets, and Caroline Hines saw that there were some dino sweets, and I got her a set of those because she really like those. And I think it was she suggested I get the unicorn candies for Andy, and so I did, but there were 3 different ones. I didn't know which ones to get, so in the end I got the 3 different ones. One was a giant unicorn's head. There were some smaller ones. So I basically got the 3 of them and gave him a packet on each of the 3 days. Or it was something like, it was Saturday morning and Sunday morning, and then in the evening on Sunday as well. He's not the only mad one. Yeah, I think I've got too many of several things now. It's because I've also got a pair of tough cut shears as well. I've got 2 side cutters, 3 side cutters, 4 side cutters, kind of sort of smaller ones. So I've got 2 like that, a pair of end cutters, 2 like that, plus some wire strippers. Yeah, I'm not sure I actually need both in good condition. Again, Draper. So yeah, I mean, they're pretty much identical. They are different. They're clearly not made in the same, I'd say the same factory, but they are essentially the same style. Oh, Maria Kondo. Is that it? Maria Kondo? Yeah, the kind of, you have to kind of see if something gives you joy, and then see if it's kind of, if it's useful, you can keep it. Yeah. If it's something essential, you're allowed to keep it, even if it doesn't give you joy. But if you have things that don't give you joy, then and they're not useful, then you say bye-bye to them and thank them, and then they go. Yeah, I think she'd have a whale of a time. I mean, we've done a few kind of decluttering things. 2015, I think my wife came across a blog, and this blogger had this idea of getting rid of 2015 things in the year 2015. It's something they did annually and had done for a few years. And so we did that, and kind of we've done it every year. I've got the 2019 one, but I think after the first year we managed it, and we'd only started it kind of halfway through the year, and we'd finished it quite early. And every year I've tried it since, and yeah, I like my scissors. Yeah, they do bring me joy. They're comfortable in the hand. They're sharp. Yeah, make me feel like, my finger out and feel like I'm a hairdresser. And particularly if I'm cutting something long with these ones, yeah, they're giving me lots of joy. I think I'm up to, my youngest decided to do it this year as well, so she kind of set her own little chart. And yeah, things like, she went through, we acquired lots of old Lego, and so she went through and there are various other manufacturers that make things that fit Lego but aren't Lego. And when I was doing Lego competitions with school, you couldn't use anything that was not Lego because it was kind of associated with Lego. So if you had anything that was kind of Mighty Blocks or something like that, you couldn't use it. And so I kind of got this snobbiness about Lego, which she's acquired as well. And so, she went through, and every time she found something that wasn't Lego, it was a case of, right, that's got to go. And so she would count that off on her list. And so she'd get, easily into the thousands. And she outgrows things as well. I think I haven't ticked anything off for a while, actually. I think I've probably, the last time I looked, it was about 800, 900 things that I'd got rid of. But to be honest, I hadn't actually counted anything within here. Not that I've got rid of huge amounts. Actually, those sockets sorted out the other day. They can go once eventually I get rid of them. Yeah, Lego always brings joy. I don't do enough of it anymore. That is nice. I haven't bought any kits for myself for a long time. In fact, most of the kits I've ever had have been kind of second-hand. The Apollo 11 looks fantastic. I also fancied the Unimog. And who did I see today? Somebody today put up a video, and they made a series of display cases with built-in lights, glass or perspex at the front, so essentially a series of boxes that could stack. I can't remember who it was. And it's on my other channel, so I can't click through to check that. And so she had the Lego DB5, the Porsche, the bigger Porsche. She had a whole bunch of the cars in these display cases. The DeLorean. So that was really nice. I really fancy again, you need somewhere to display it really. The architecture ones. Have you seen those? Yeah, I bet you do, Jim. I saw when the Commonwealth Games were up in Glasgow, we went and we stayed in Edinburgh, and we had tickets for midweek athletics. So we thought, well, we'd stay in Edinburgh. It was the week before the festival started, so prices were still pretty reasonable. And we were walking around Edinburgh one day, and actually two occasions one day I saw a Unimog that had been converted into a camper, and a few days later I saw, I think it was ex-Russian kind of armored personnel carrier, one of the tall ones. It was a huge thing, again kind of set up kind of like an adventure camper. And that was just kind of, it was a bit surreal really, seeing this kind of, particularly the second one, because it was still in kind of military green, driving around Edinburgh, clearly not British. That was a little bit bizarre almost. No, that's not going to work. But if I swap that for that, so the brain's constantly thinking. Sticks out a little bit. I don't like that. But I might be able to shift that up there. Yes. Planar magnets. So these are ceramic. They're very brittle, which is a bit of a pain. These are the sort of ones you use in kind of model motors. So the poles are actually on the planes rather than the ends, as most magnets are. And that's perfect for holding the ruler on the side of my Racco box. And now I've just moved a few things. It's actually in a good position. But now it's collided with one of the other magnets that's up there that's covered in ball bearings. And is much stronger, so that's not going to work either. Right. Yeah, they're good. If you really want it, if you're interested in like that sort of stuff, Dale, have a look for the Kiravan. I can't remember if it's Kyra or Kira. Essentially, I don't think it is a Unimog. It might be a Unimog base, but I can't remember. But check that out. It's probably one of the best adventure campers out there, and I hate to think how much it costs. It's a six-figure at least. Right, it's 11 o'clock. I think it is time for me to turn in. I hadn't even turned on my computer in the house today, so I haven't checked any emails. I haven't set up the email accounts on this computer out here. You want to talk to somebody from the Navy about sort of degaussing. Obviously, small stuff. You could build a degaussing coil. So essentially, think a solenoid, but stick AC through it instead of DC, and then you put whatever it is in it. As you then withdraw it out of the solenoid, so you need something with a sort of decent coil. It will demagnetize, so that's fine for things like screwdrivers. But benches, yeah, not sure about a bench. Heat will do it. If you heat it up enough. Hitting it might do it. I don't know how hard you'd have to hit it. So anything like that, anything that sort of disrupts the kind of molecular structure, but whether that would do sort of damage. I have an ex-colleague of mine works for a MOD contractor on work related to making certain types of large military vessels electromagnetically invisible. But I suspect that if I was to ask them, they could tell me, but they'd probably then have to kill me. So yeah, I mean, essentially, if you're setting up if you put a DC signal through any ferromagnetic material in a fixed location, then essentially it will become magnetic. I mean, most things don't become magnetized because they're not that much. So wires, yeah, any wire, so feeding this will have a magnetic field around it. But of course, it's alternating current to this. So if you've got a direct current flowing through something, then yeah, it'll become magnetized. Depends on, there's various magnetic properties of materials. So coercivity, I think, is the one that would be important there. So how much of a magnetic field is required in order for it to become permanently magnetized? So if you've got something that's got a high coercivity, it's very difficult to change. So soft ferromagnetic materials, magnetically soft ferromagnetic materials, magnetize very easily and demagnetize very easily. So there's various kind of hysteresis curves. You get kind of curves, so kind of if you magnetize it, so it'll go up to a particular shape, and then it'll demagnetize. It'll come back to a different location, and what the difference there is then the remnants. So if you've removed the magnetizing field, any magnetic field left behind then due to the material is called the remnants, and then you have to sort of magnetic field in the opposite direction to cancel that out. It's all quite interesting, particularly if you're looking at magnetic media and kind of how your magnetic tape works and hard drives and things like that. Yeah, and kind of how big a region of space. I mean, that's how now hard drives are getting more and more space materials, data stored on them, because they're able to work with smaller and smaller regions, so down to kind of hundreds of atoms. So if you can magnetically get to a point where you can store a bit of information, a 1 or a 0 on a single atom, your data storage goes from kind of terabytes in kind of something this big to peta or above. Right, I am going to call it a night. Thank you all. Thank you for the chat. I'm not surprised I haven't finished reorganizing, but I am down to the kind of the last few things. I've got screwdrivers. I know the screwdrivers are going to fit into a space kind of about that big. I've tripled, well, they're 2.5 times the amount of space, although I've got the edges to think about. So yeah, it's just over double the amount of space. So screwdrivers are going to go in. I've taken out the precision screwdrivers, but I do want to put my kind of heavy duty B&Q screwdrivers in. Files are too long to go in there, but I might actually consider putting some chisels. I've got 3 sets of chisels. I've got a set of 3. Again, I think they're B&Q kind of sort of specials. A set of 4, which I don't actually like very much. The handles are quite flexible. Tang's only to there. So there's quite a lot of, I don't know if you can see that, there's quite a lot of bend in these handles. So you can't really whack them and get a good amount of energy through. Very sharp, I'm sure not to many people's standards. And I've got my dad's old set, which possibly, no, I don't think they're my granddad's. I think they were just my dad's. But whether he had them new, I don't know. So that's a bigger set. So there's 6 there. And between the others, I cover the same range. I mean, these have taken a bashing. I've chipped off bits of the wood. I've got the same sizes. Essentially, there's 2 there. Oh no, there's a mil difference. So there's a bit of me thinks, as between these other 2 sets, that maybe I won't use those and save the space. So I might actually just kind of join those with the tools from my dad. And I may or may not display those. So that's actually kind of saving me a bit of space there. So I might be able to fit actually all my chisels into there. But then I might actually just make kind of a slotted carrier over here. Just avoids odd little screw on its own in there. So yeah, I just need to, so chisels I'll probably put there. Screwdrivers and punches, tweezers, some Allen wrenches, precision screwdrivers into there tomorrow. Allen screwdrivers, my stubbies in too. So the files are going to be the awkward one. That's going to be the awkward one. So something for me to think about. What I might do is I have more. Actually, let me just go in the house. Put that there. I have more plastic PVC tube. So what I may do is create another set of tubes somewhere. No, there's a possibility. So I've got some space underneath this shelf here. So what I might do with maybe some shorter, yeah, they need to be shorter. Yeah, I've got some space that will not obstruct the window because there's a batten at the back of this shelf. So I might mount a series of tubes across there. Maybe doing something with this lamp anyway. And I might just have enough space. I might not get all the files in there, but if I can get most of them in, that'll be job sorted. So, you seen them? I missed the premiere for Ellen's. I set a reminder, but I was doing the washing up or something, and missed it. I think there were like 2 seconds left as I kind of clicked on it. They clicked off. Particularly liked Ellen's. I like the reading. I like the fact that the story, it was more of the story than the build. I think Jesse's was a great story, but the build was quite long in comparison to the story part. So I kind of preferred the extended story, but it's purely selfish saying that. Right, but it's time to be off. So thank you for watching. Hopefully tomorrow, I'll probably put a normal blog up tomorrow, because hopefully tomorrow I'll be finished. And I'm hoping to do the review. And I think then possibly Sunday, or maybe waiting a week, I am thinking of doing another essentially tour around the new kind of arrangements as a kind of finalize the reorganization. So if I don't speak to or have contact with any of you, have a good weekend. And yeah, thanks for hanging out. Let's do a hangout actually at some point. That'd be a nice thing to do. Right, good night.